That's his business. And so, if you'll tell us a little bit, Daniel, and we're just glad to have you here tonight.
Yeah.
I think our hogs a problem in Texas or the United States.
Say it again?
Are hogs a problem?
Absolutely.
Oh, we're a problem, and they're outrunning us.
So there is a guy with Texas Parks and Wildlife Department who does a lot of research on this, and I forget his name. I didn't know if he asked that question. But his view on it is that there are two types of landowners in Texas. There are landowners who have a hog problem or are fixing to have a hog problem. So coming from the people who regulate a lot of this stuff, yes, we got problems.
What are you doing about it?
So, obviously, I'm heavily invested in trying to help out with that problem.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a blast. So guys, my name is Daniel. I'm a Christian. I am a husband. I am a father. But Gerald obviously asked me to come in and talk about one of my worldly passions, which is going to be thermal hog hunting. Really, I like any kind of it, but I do most of this because of my other priorities. I do the rest of this after the kids go to bed, and so I hunt at night, and thermal works better than flashlights. So that's why I'm so heavily invested in the thermal side of things. But man, I love hog hunting any time because it's always hog season, right? But several years ago, I was living in McLennan County, and I was driving on a wide open farm to market road with a blacktop on it. Had huge shoulders, a lot like OSR over here. And all of a sudden, out in front of me ran a whole sounder of pigs. And so luckily, my little Chevy S10 did not take that much body damage from it. We didn't hit one that flipped us or nothing. But to this day, it is still my worst, personal worst vehicle versus wildlife accident that I've been involved in. I've hit lots of deer already now, and actually only since moving down here. But none of them have done nearly as much damage as that hog did. And I went to work, and my buddy saw the truck, and hey, man, and so I was telling them all about it. And one of them, who knew that I was also a deer hunter, I grew up deer hunting with Dad, right? And he had 300 acres outside of Oglesby. And so he said, hey man, you ought to come out anytime you want. Just, I'll give you a combination of the game. You just come hunt them whenever you want. And so I started going quite a bit. And I started taking this very basic AR that I got back then. And it's a blurry picture because obviously none of the technology was amazing back then. But regular daytime scope. I had a white flashlight on there, so that way I could see them. Eventually I started doing this green stuff because I'm getting like fancy on them, right? And so I'm getting real high tech here, right? And so I was doing that for a while, and then eventually, a couple years later, we ended up having the opportunity to move down here to College Station, so we did. And hopefully my wife, I'm actually videotaping this, but hopefully my wife doesn't see this. But when you leave a business and you get that big fat PTO check, at the end, from leaving there, all that paid time off, and they just give it to you in one lump sum. Yeah, I took that and bought a thermal scope. I did not ask my wife anything about it, but I bought that thermal scope, and for me, it was an absolute game changer because now I can see so much better rather than just telescoping everything that I'm doing, just lighting that whole place up with a white beam flashlight or a green beam flashlight. And so I bought that one, and then I ended up getting a second one. So that way I can actually hunt with a buddy. Because it's safer to go with somebody out on ranch property at night, and you're going after an animal that's been known to go after people and hurt them and such. And so it was safer, but guys, really I just loved hanging out with a friend, and going out with them. And so I bought the second one, and then obviously fast forward several years later, and now I have taken what was just a YouTube channel and turned it into an actual LLC. We're a full-blown business. I got a guy working on getting me insurance right now. And so this is something that at some point I had to explain to my wife that this is not a hobby for me. This is a passion for me. I love doing this because I go out about once a week. We're going out tomorrow night. I'm already booked. But go about once a week to do this because I love doing this. But let's step out a little bit, let's zoom out, and let's talk about the actual wild pig population itself. So I have my notes on my phone because I don't know how to get it projected on here. But anyways, whatever. As most of y'all know, hogs are an invasive species here in America. The first ones that were brought over to the Americas came with Christopher Columbus on his second voyage. The first one, they thought he was going to die, so they didn't send him a whole lot of supplies. But on his second voyage in 1493, they sent him a bunch of supplies, including several pigs, and so he dropped off a lot of pigs in the Caribbeans. And back then, the way to colonize a new area was to bring food with you that could reproduce and become more food, so they dropped off a whole bunch of pigs in the Caribbeans, right? The first ones that actually made it to continental United States of America was in 1539 with Hernando de Soto, and he grabbed 13 of them and went over to Florida and dropped off the very first ones there. So that's first pigs in continental America were 1539. And then 3 years later in 1542, and I'm going to get off these numbers here in a little bit, but he went to Cuba, picked up 500 of them, and brought them over to Texas. And so now that number has been estimated to be up to somewhere between 6 to 9 million pigs in America alone. So we went from 13 in Florida and 500 in Texas to somewhere between 6 and 9 million. Half of those expected to be or calculated to be inside of Texas alone. Now, y'all may remember that the numbers were that Texas got 2.6 million pigs. 2.6. That number went around forever, but that number was from a study done in 2008. To me, 2008 actually doesn't feel like that long ago, but like I think of an old pickup as like an 80s model pickup, right? But 2008 was actually 15 years old, right? So that's outdated information. New numbers are somewhere between 6 and 9, half of them in Texas. Wow. But those numbers also equate to $230 million of land damage done in Texas alone. That is two different things, any caveats I need to throw in there. 230 million, that is on the conservative side, and that does not include motor accidents. So like with my Chevy S10 several years ago, that four children. Yeah. So 230 million before they tear up either your crappy truck that I was driving at the time or your brand new, Mercedes or whatever that your wife is driving, whatever that vehicle amount costs. It's not including any of that. This is just land damage, 230 million. And part of the reason that they think the 230 million is underreported is because most landowners, don't report. I don't even know how to report land damage to the state right now. But the ones that are surveyed, they don't actually report the full cost because they know how much it's going to cost to go in and replant that corn or take their skid, or go and have a skid steer that is only used to fill in the holes on their ranch or whatever that is, right? They know that number, but then, well, how much diesel did you spend on it? How much wear and tear depreciation on your equipment did you spend on it? How much do you value your man hours? And then did you add that in too? Most of those three right there, the answer is no, they didn't. They didn't throw those in. So the number is way underreported. And then actually most of the landowners that I know, they don't even do anything about it. Because if they've got this one pasture gets all tore up all the time, they just leave it. Because they know that even if they did go in there and make it pristine and fix it real nice and pretty again, the next sounder is just going to come through and just undo all of that hard work. And I understand that, and I empathize with that. But so most of them that I know, they don't even do anything about it. They just leave it alone. The best place to look up those numbers. Oh, I should have gone forward one slide. These are different feeders. These are all mine, but none of these are the same feeder at all. The best place to look up a lot of these numbers are going to be with the Texas A&M NRI, which is the Natural Resource Institute. They are the place that does a lot of, this is a coastal field, place that we hunt outside of Franklin. And the Texas NRI, Natural Resource Institute, is the place who comes up with does all the research on wild pigs here in Texas, and they do a lot of other things as well, but they're the group that's focused on that. And they come up with a process improvement plans, implement plans, I should say, and things that they can do to help out with this problem here. And their overall goal is absolute eradication. Okay. Here we go. Where did my mouse go? There it is. This is going to be some aerial footage of a cornfield. We just flew this a couple miles off the Brazos. And so there's going to be a pig right there. You can see where this all looks like normal corn in thermal view, but like all this that looks disturbed, that's because this pig is knocked down. Who knows how much of that? Yeah.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And that's just one pig, right?
That's one. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here. We'll go to the next slide, make it longer. Yeah, well, let's play this one too, because this is fun. So there are several different ways that people can participate in helping our state's efforts of eradication. There's going to be snaring, which you could accidentally trap the. That's my old golf cart we used to hunt out of, and it's two of my children. It's actually not stuck.
Oh, it's not stuck.
I drove it off in there for reference. So that way, and then it's like, hey son, spin that tire just so like you can stand next to it, so that way we can see what we're working with here. I sent that video to the landowner, and I told him I killed a pig 20 yards away from it, which we feel like we actually did something, but like that was one, right? Who knows how many were doing that or you're enjoying that wallow. But anyways, there are several different ways to go after wild hogs here in Texas. We've made it very open to being free to be able to do this as far as methods and practices. You can snare. You can do traditional trapping, like with a box trap that's got like a tripwire or something that's in it. You can run dogs. You can, most people actually kill hogs through incidental or opportunistic hunting, which is where you're just sitting there deer hunting and a pig walks out. And, well, there's a hog, so we'll just kill that thing too. And then you can do it the way that I do it, which is also purposeful hunting. So when we go out hunting, we are dedicated to finding and eradicating this nuisance animal here. And really the way I describe it like a nuisance animal, because it is. And if you think about it, most people think like, oh man, there was a movie, Babe, and we have this Disney, we have this Disney idea about, large fauna being sweet and nice. It's like, cool. And then when you tell people that I don't actually harvest all of this meat, because like we were talking about a little while ago, if a landowner, if I were to ask him, hey, what do you want me to do with my time? Do you want me to spend my time harvesting this meat so we can be a good steward which is delicious meat out in front of us, laying right here? Or do you want me to take that time and keep getting rid of this problem for you? If this was rats in your house, people eat rats in other countries. They do. But like really, if we had rats in our house, we just want you to kill them. I don't care what you can do with the body. We just want that thing gone. And so these are basically rats for your property. They're just tearing stuff up. They're no problems. If you want to eat them, I love them. They're delicious. If you're picky and do it right and stuff. We can talk about that later. But they're great. But my goal is the same goal as what Texas has, which is eradication. But I say that all of those are considered low. Oh, there we go. I should have already put forward to that. There's a sounder of pigs. All of those are considered low effectiveness for population management. There's a study done a couple years ago that said that to control the population of pigs in an area, you need to kill somewhere between 66 to 68% of that population annually. And that's to keep the pigs at the exact same number. That's not, so for me I'm just going to call it 70%. And trying to kill 70% of a population is really hard. So when you got a sounder of 10 pigs out there, you have to kill 8 of them to win this war. And that's just to start trying to get ahead. And most people are not killing 7 or greater. 7 just is the baseline. We're only getting, you know, just 1 or 2 as we're out there deer hunting or something, right? Or with our truck. Yeah. So you've got to get 80% of them to keep that population in check.
And are you gonna get to how many babies they can have?
Oh yeah, that's
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's my next talk.
Okay, got it.
Yep. So
Now, one definition here for, you know, we're curious. A sounder is a herd. Herd.
Yeah.
go ahead, sorry about that. Now, part of the reason for that explosiveness in their population, where we went from 13 in Florida, 500 in Texas, you got to kill 70% of them to keep the numbers the same, is that on average, and I know you've probably heard other numbers, but according to the state of Texas NRI, the average number is that pigs start breeding at about 1 year old. They can start at 6 months, but you know most of them start breeding at about 12 to 13 months old. They, on average, have about 2 litters per year. The 3 litters, you gotta do some funny math, like just to physically make that work. Like they have to drop their first litter on January 1 and their third one's on December 31. She was pregnant before that. You gotta do some weird math. But on average, they do drop 2 litters per year. And on average, that litter is gonna be about 6 piglets. Your younger ones are gonna start off, you know, much smaller litters. And then your older ones, obviously, they're going to have much, you know, heavier population in their litters. But you're talking about an animal that breeds that twice a year, and 6 piglets per litter. And so if you think about deer, you know, deer only drop 1. Some of them will drop twins, so you will have, you know, twin fawns per year. And we've got deer everywhere. These things are dropping. So that's 1, a little over 1. We're dropping 12 every single year. That's going to really get those numbers spiked up. Yeah, so this is a group that we called in. We use vocalizations to help bring them in as well. It does work. And I've got 3 shooters and I'm standing behind them. And so you can see, I didn't actually count them, but there's a bunch there. We got 1 that we actually recovered. Now, mind you, only one of these is like a serious, regular shooter. But like you think, like, oh, just mow them all down, right? Like, cool. We got, I don't know how many are in there. We got 1. I was not shooting. That was not me. But these people had a blast. They had a great time. They were.
How did you shoot them?
I know, man. They loved it. They were having so much fun.
Having that close to you.
Praying.
So right here, this little thing is a call, and it was just real dark. They came to the sound.
Okay.
And didn't even, and the wind was right. It was super dark. They didn't have a clue we were there. And yeah, they got 9 yards away. 9 yards.
So what sound is that thing making?
And the missed difference.
I can replay that for you. So there are the different types of sounds are going to be either.
I've never seen that in my life. Calling up all
The different kind of sounds are going to be either like a collection sound, like everybody come over here, or they're going to be a I need help type of sound. That's going to be what usually gets in your sounders and sometimes your boars. And then if you're specifically going after boars, then that's going to be more like a breeding type sound.
So it's pig noises. That's not like a giant rabbit or something.
More pigs have been killed with this sound than any other sound, I guarantee you. And I don't know like the actual numbers on that, but this is the most popular sound.
That sounds like feed.
That's what I was gonna say. Got some dinner over here.
Yeah. So what this one is replicating is that there is a sounder around one who is in distress. And so that one is in distress, you know, wanting help, and then the rest of the sounders are like, I'm running, I'm coming, I'm helping. And which also makes it easy for other pigs to decide, well, I'm going to come join in on this fight too, because I know there's already other people there fighting, so like it's going to be easy to be on the same team if I know I already got backup right there, rather than just jumping in by themselves, right? So, yeah, that's the most common sound that people actually use. Yes, I did that. Oh, so those are considered ineffective. Even the purposeful hunting, like I'm doing, is considered ineffective. That's obviously a trap. I'm working on turn. I'm actually going right into that. The effective means of population management, there's only two. One would be cellular trapping, which I'm actually, that's my shop, this is in my backyard, I'm working on making this happen. And we're gonna start cellular trapping, which involves a lot of really boring screen time. And just watching a trap that does not have enough pigs in it yet. And then you just keep watching it and keep watching it. And I kind of want less screen time in my life. But like if you want to be effective with cellular trapping, there's a lot of just looking at that screen and then finally deciding, hey, that's enough. Like I have the entire sounder in there. Because if you only get like 2 or 3 like you do with a box trap, then there's concerns about you educating the rest of those pigs. And so cellular trapping is highly effective because you can get 100% of a population inside of a trap. Do what?
What about a round pen?
Same, yeah, it'll work. I mean, obviously the bigger the better. Oh, you're talking about continuous feed?
Yeah, so when
Yeah.
they start rounding the pen, it opens up, they go in, but they can't go out.
So both Texas and Alabama has done studies on continuous catch, whether you're talking about like a bar stool style, or if you're talking about the hog panel that's just barely leaning up against the inside, kind of like fish going into a trap.
36.
Once you get 1 or 2 in there, the overall, the rest of the pigs don't want in. Overall, I mean, yes, you're gonna have, like I saw that look, I know, you're gonna have people that say, man, we can just keep getting them, keep getting them, keep getting them. Sure, but overall, both Texas and Alabama have studied this and decided that is an ineffective trapping method in comparison to cellular trapping. Because with this one, I mean, you just drop it, and then it's all done. You got them all. I get a lot more screen time.
So what do you mean? I mean, cellular, you're on the phone, but what do you mean drop it? How do you?
Right. So on mine, I've got this gate right here that is going to be affixed up to a cellular trigger.
Yeah.
And there's going to be actually it's an ammo can is the one that I have that has a release mechanism on it that when you text the SIM card, just like the texting to your phone number in here, when you text the phone number of that SIM card that's in there, the only action it does is release.
Okay, so
then that drops it.
Are they kind of coming in and out, going in and out of the trap?
Yeah, and then, now the great thing is you won't have one that goes off to the back, trips the tripwire, and then you've only got that 1 or 2. You just leave it open and never drop it until you're actually ready to drop it. And then also, if people talk about the ethics of, well, I don't want to leave them out there to die in in that burning up sun, so I don't set my trap because I don't know when to go out there. Like, and I'm not just going to randomly show up every morning because my property is 10, 15 miles away. I'm just not going to do that. With this one, like, your trap can work when you want it to work, and you can decide, like, even if they are all in there, I'm busy tomorrow. I ain't got time to mess with this, so I'm not gonna do it. But if you know, I could do that tomorrow. I can get a few. Well, then just watch your cell phone and drop the trap. Yep. Because otherwise, most people are just gonna leave their trap in an open position, fixed all the time, unless they're actively out there, out on the property. Yes.
So with cellular traps, I'm assuming the hogs can leave in and out, but they stay there because of the food source.
Yep. Yeah, I got a deer feeder in the middle of that thing, and so. Just you pre-bait it, throw some bags of corn out there with whatever mix you want to attract it to come to it. Give them plenty of time to get acclimated to this is how this whole thing works. Obviously the gate's going to be open, but and most of the ones that you see, they have like a full 6 or 8 foot wide gate that just vertically drops, and then just upon command, right? So you just get used to it and then drop whenever you tell it to.
The only weakness of it is the fact that you have to manually watch the phone.
Yep. And so then the only other effective hog population management technique is aerial gunning, which, like, I have all of this stuff, and I'm even declaring that is expensive. I have yet to do it. I could sell any of these and go pay for that, but
That's just one trip.
Yeah, that's 4 hours. Yeah, I get to use this again and again and again. I get to hand this off to somebody again and again and again, every single time, right? But that's really expensive. It's highly effective, but also, again, very expensive. And it's much more limited to the season that you can do this because they are way more effective when the leaves are off the trees, right? And so, the same thing with my drone, finding them is way more effective when there's not leaves on everything. Because then I can just fly through all the trees and tell you right where they are, and then we can just come up with a game plan of how to get there from here and judge the wind and all that and make our best approach. But if there's leaves up, I'm way less effective. I saw somebody was raising their hand. No? Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Yeah, good, I did that. Okay, so let's go back to exactly what it is that I'm doing. And you know what it is, like I said, this was one of my worldly passions, right? You know, one of my other real worldly passions is to connect with another dude, right? And so connecting with dudes, we don't connect face to face talking like women do about whatever it is. We connect side by side with a task. You pick up that end, I'll pick up this end, and we'll connect through grunts, right? Men connect with a task. Men connect with something on hand to do side by side. And so when we're out here doing this, like, we're connecting. Like, I'm actually getting to connect with someone that I want to spend time with. And where that really hits home for me is hunting was the way that I connected most with my dad, right? It was one of the things that it felt like I got to do with my dad way more than my brothers got to do. And if we're going to be like, we all know this, we love and we want to connect more and more with the people that we actually care about, right? And so this is something that I've been able to use to make that happen. I should put this later. This is one of my buddies, Marcus. We used to go all the time, and we would be doing this. And we think as guys that we connect really good by sitting around a campfire. But how many times have you been sitting around a campfire and then you see that one dude pulls out his cell phone, and he may still kind of be talking to everybody, but he's sitting here doing this, right? And then that kind of gives the signal for the next guy to think that's okay. And then the next thing you know, we're all sitting around a campfire and nobody's actually connecting with each other. But if you give this guy a thermal scope, you can't be on your cell phone and effectively do what it is that we're out here to do. The task that we are using to connect with each other. You're too busy. Your eyes can't focus on both those things. So put the cell phone away because we're hunting. That's one of my questions I ask everybody before we go hunt is, do you have that thing like on and on loud and all those things? And because I want to address the fact that we're not out here to do that. We're out here to connect over this task. And I say we're out here to hog hunt. But that's what I really, really enjoy doing. My wife, she would go to therapy for an hour once every other week. There we go. She'd go to therapy for an hour once every other week, and that's great. It was wonderful. She got a lot out of it. The funny thing is, I'm going to therapy several hours. Every single week, because out there sitting side by side, because we usually go on a golf cart or even just a ride out there in the truck, just sitting here just enjoying the same task that we both agreed to do here together. It's like a men's therapy session. We're not sitting here really, that's not the actual goal that we set out to do, and then later we found out that's what we actually did though. We sit here telling ourselves, I'm out here to kill hogs. Yep, but really, this is when we get to talk about whatever it is that we really need to talk about. And again, that connecting with guys that I really love being around, that I really love spending time with, that I really love to hear how they view and navigate this world. Man, I don't care if we got 4 or 14. That's what was really cool, right? I think that's one.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Where did you It's very intriguing.
Experience.
Huh?
The way I came up with that was through the experience of doing it. Is that like, because I had been doing, man, I first got serious about thermal hog hunting. My son is almost 9, so almost 9 years ago. And after doing it once a week, so 9 years times 52 weeks a year, however many, whatever math number that is, I've spent that many times going out doing this. So after Homer just threw a one-liner out there at me that I say after we've kind of like done the thing and had the fun, and we walk up to the pigs and we've done the work, and I'll ask, man, what's on TV tonight? And then you realize like nobody cares. This is way more fun. This was so much better than whatever was on TV. And I tell people all the time, like, I do not know what's on TV. I don't know who's dancing in the stars. I don't know who's playing the game. I don't even know what game we're talking about. I've kind of forgotten what seasons go with sports.
This is a whole lot better than naked.
Well, I can tell, yeah. I have almost gotten completely naked one time out doing this. We were just covered in mud. And you know how like your mama or daddy, whenever you like roll around in the mud at grandma and papa's and then like your dad tells you you ain't not getting in the truck wearing them clothes. It was kind of one of those things where like, cool guys, I'm going down to my underwear. Yeah, but yeah, this is way better than Decadent Afraid.
So talking about the cool equipment, I don't know if any of y'all saw Homer's bike out front, and he got a little electric bike.
We're trying with this,
I feel like it's Delta Force, like
Yeah.
you see Chuck Norris jump on it and things like that.
So I do everything off of an electric golf cart. It's a full two rows of seats, kind of like any of your side-by-sides. The hardest part about using it is forgetting that it is not a true four-wheel drive heavy suspension side-by-side. I've had to replace the front end suspension on the thing too many times because you're not supposed to be using it like I
Guys
use it.
do that on a golf course.
Wait,
I know. So
You're telling me Clinton didn't fix that for you?
no, the new is way better.
Maybe the last one we're putting on it, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, I would drive around with like the Ranch Ford F-150 or the Ranch Polaris Ranger, and just you come around the corner and you see all these hog butts running away, and so I went all electric, and so now we're playing with an electric dirt bike, because which that also is really nice in that if I'm guiding somebody, then Homer or whoever my assistant is out there can drive off and do their own thing and film and get some really cool third-person footage that they get to move around and do and take, and they're not using up my buggy, and they're not taking up a seat on my buggy if I'm trying to take a whole like a family of guys, right? And so that's really great for that. However, at the same time, it's really fun. Like Homer said the other night, driving a dirt bike under night vision is an extreme sport itself. If you thought it was squirrely enough during daytime, just turn the lights off. It gets real weird real quick. Yeah, so there's that little thing
Your major
Really
byproduct, the meat, are most of your customers eating or chunking?
leaving it. We donate all of it to the Buzzard and Maggot Society. And, just let it go back to nature, and let the buzzards have it.
Well,
I think Josie Will said it the best.
to give a-
Same as worms.
Yeah.
to give a vote for the other side, there was a guy that was part of part of Legacy in Belton,
Okay.
had Hogs for a Cause.
Okay. Yep.
Usually as a meat industry.
Yep.
And the stuff's going for $19 a pound in Europe.
Yes.
And it is delicious.
Yes.
I've been hunting hogs since about the mid-80s.
Okay.
Mainly handguns and
Sure.
dogs. But I realize that people in our culture now a lot of them are basically lazy.
Yes.
But it is good meat. And Genesis chapter 9 says that's why God made wild game is for us to eat.
Right.
There are two things that you can do that will help a lot. Back straps and hindquarters. 80% of the good meat, and you don't even have to field dress it.
Right.
You just skin out those legs, those hindquarters, and that back strap, and you don't have to gut it or anything. It's real easy,
Yep.
and it's really good meat.
So, and I feel all of that, and I've been asked to cook a whole pig for birthday parties and stuff before, and I love it, it's great, and man, I'm all about all of that. Problems with it, and this is my dad in me, because you tell me something and I immediately want to tell you what all the problems with your plan are. That's my dad speaking out of me right now. Like you said, it's $19 a pound in Europe right now. So the only places that you can legally drop off pigs to then be made back into consumer meat, if they are, they have, except for one, there's one exception, I'll get to it, but they have to be alive, and these holding pens have to be registered with the state, they have to be inspected by the state, and they've got their own regulations that they have to fall under. And they'll only take a pig that's like 40 pounds or heavier, and there's not one in Brazos County. There's one in Robertson County, there's one in Grimes County over in Iola, I don't think there's one in Burleson County. But there's not one that's actually in Brazos County, which I get it, Brazos County is almost all Braddock College Station, you know, but there's not a whole lot of rural area. The only exception is there is a place in Waco that will, hey, I'm from McLean County, so, correct. There is a place in Waco that will accept dead pigs, but they are way much more regulated, and you have to be able to prove that this has been chilled within a certain amount of time. And mind you, like, they have a chilling station for all that, but you've got from when you killed it to when you get it to them, there's a window that it has to fall within, and it's not economical to buy an ice cream truck. I need to talk to my tax guy. We'll see how that goes.
Cheap bluebell trucks are.
As of right now, I don't. That's your only option with dead ones. All the other ones have to be alive. So this is my passion. That I love to do as much as my wife lets me do, and I get it. We're out there. We are helping ranchers. We are helping farmers. There was, I don't know if I put it in here or not, but we just went the other night, flew the drone up, and found a pig that was tearing up one of these guys' corn, and I got video, like you can see the corn getting knocked down by the pig. From the drone, which is just sitting there watching it, you can see stalks get knocked down as we're trying to make our way around to get to it. And it's like, yeah, like when you send that to the landowner, they love it.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge impact on them. Oh, especially like you're trying to get a new landowner, and you're like, cool, here's the high definition quality of devices we're using to see that this is not a cow. We do not need to shoot your cows, but we all see that this is a pig, and if just want to let you know, I'd love to have access to Hunter Place. But anyways, so sharing the footage is great. So we are helping the ranchers, we are helping landowners, we are helping the state of Texas with their conservation efforts, which again is eradication. But guys, most of all, I get to hang out with people that I love to hang out with, and just get a lot of that good therapy, men's therapy time in once a week, and I get cranky if I don't get it. So this is what I do. I hope that y'all enjoyed. Ask me all the questions you want.
How about your that web? I mean, how do we go to your website? Or how do we...
So really, I do most everything on YouTube. Hey team, this is Daniel with Brazos Valley Boars Varmits.
You tired of that guy?
Yeah. Look, and this was horrible, right? This is not good footage at all. But my daughter is behind me doing all this.
You sound like he's having fun.
Yeah, so there's a feeder right there, and then these are pigs underneath there, and that's me and my brother and my son who's 8 and my daughter who's 10. We had to go now, and she's like, I want to go and I want to film from behind y'all. Like, probably not gonna be good for footage for the channel, but you know what, like, absolutely my love. So she grabbed this thing and started walking behind us, and it made for like some very dizzying video, but you know, the title of this video is Kids Tagging Along. Like, we're doing, me and my brother getting to hang out this whole night, and my kids are running around doing their thing around the campfire and such, but like, they get to love and enjoy and do all this stuff with us. But we, in our debriefing safety speech before we even go, we talk about how when you do this, your entire worldview is going to be through this scope right here.
Yeah.
And so if you want to see something, what you're doing is you're holding this scope up, right? And that's all fine and dandy until you start, you're actually pointing at somebody. And obviously this is not a gun, but like everybody just kind of like, ugh, they didn't feel comfortable about this. And that's right? So so that's why I hand everybody a scanner. And they're all really good, and they're like, there's nobody saying, well, mine's junk. Like, no, man, I'm buying you the good stuff. So I'm handing everybody a scanner. That way, if you're like, what was that over there? Oh, it's just him. Then, like, you didn't point a gun at your dad. You know, like, so that everybody gets a scanner, but when it is time to walk up and do this, then I get us all lined up on sticks, and I've got to sit back and make sure that this guy that's on this right side, if all the pigs start going left, he doesn't pivot over and then shoot his brother, you know, or whatever it is, right? So I've got 3 people start to get really weird. Two's nice. At the same time, I've taken 5 people out hunting at one time. It worked, but I kind of hated it. And it was great. We had so much fun. But man, that was a cluster.
Well, when you had 5, you could just like make 3 at a time to shoot or something, or do something where you did it together.
So I have 4 total setups ready to go all the time.
Yeah.
And so like I can get 4 of you on here, and the old man did not want to shoot. He just kind of wanted to go along and be a part of it. Yeah. So he was fine not shooting, and then I'm having to stand back and play range officer here, which I don't know anybody who loves the idea of being a range officer, but that's what I signed up for. And so I'm having to fulfill that role with these 4 people, and especially, you know, man, like if you get one guy that gets a little, actually, if you'll stand right there for me, if you get one guy that's a little bit behind the rest of them, you can't have that, because then like he's so much quicker to get into this guy. So I've got to play a lot of safety here and hope that the pigs don't leave while I'm trying to manage these humans who are going after swine.
So y'all do any shooting with suppressors or guards?
And when I say a full, ready to go rifle setup, that includes a silencer. If you bring
start shooting, they're not just scattered right away, maybe.
Oh, they are.
They are?
Yeah.
They still are.
They still are.
It's mostly that we can shoot and nobody has to wear a shirt.
Okay, so it's really for the shooter's benefit more than
It's a
the
safety thing.
So I do have one video that's out where I talk about being able to shoot and reposition with people, and that's only something I'm going to do with people that I am familiar with. So let's say me and Homer are here together, and you know, so they all start. I'm sorry, I'm sweeping everybody, but they all start running off to the right. Well, then you know, once we get to a certain point here, I'm out, right? And so using a silencer, I can actually talk to Homer and say, Homer, I'm coming on your right. And then I can reposition and set up over here, and he will say that back to me, saying Daniel's going on my right. And so then I can reset up over here and continue to join the fight. But I don't do that with new people.
I'll do that with guys on the
Yeah. So again, when you start bringing 4 people trying to line up and shoot, and somebody thinks, oh, I'll like maneuver. No, you won't. I'm gonna grab you.
You're done after a certain.
Yeah, like because I carry, so I'm also a trauma nurse. I am the house supervisor of Brazos Hospital, which is over in Caldwell. And we, you know, it's like, and I've had to take TNCC, which is the trauma nurse care, whatever, curriculum. But so I'm a registered trauma nurse, but I don't want to have to deal with it.
How you doing, huh?
So I carry, in the back of my buggy, I carry a red box that is way more than an IFAC, than an individual first aid kit. I've got lots of, like, so even if you shot a couple of people, like we can. shut up, Siri.
Watch it.
I can treat a lot of injuries in the field, right? At the same time, I never want to have to open that box.
You're not doing that.
Yeah, and so part of my safety brief is that, so guys, just want to make sure that like everyone understands the #1 goal that we have tonight is to have fun. And everybody's like, what? Because you immediately think I'm going to talk about being safe. Like guys, because if we're not having fun, I don't know what we're doing here. And if you're done, if you're just like, cool, this is not fun anymore, I'm tired, I'm wet, I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm achy, I'm whatever, and you're not having any fun, you're probably making this not real fun for anybody else either. And once this is not fun, I don't know what we're doing here. So let's just not, let's leave, let's pack it up and go home. That's great, that sounds good to me, because we're here to have fun. Now I can tell you the #1 way for us to not have fun anymore is when you shoot the guy you brought. Or that you shoot the guy that brought you, or that guy shoots you.
Anybody shoots anybody.
Yeah, and then I go, because now, like, this immediately is not fun at all anymore. You're not going to remember however many pigs we killed tonight. You're going to remember that, like, this guy is a partial amputee now, because we weren't being safe. So the #1 way for us to ensure having fun is through being safe. So that's going to be the biggest part of my job, is to ensure being safe. And like, cool, no alcohol, no, like if I believe that you are not fit to be shooting anymore, whether it's because you actually pre-gamed your alcohol before you showed up, or if you're just not safe with the firearm, like the night's over. Like I do not have a problem calling the night over, because I do not want to use any of my trauma skills at all.
Turn this hog hunt around.
Do it.
Oh, turn this hog hunt right around.
Yeah, it's just absolutely over. And I have no problem doing that. Forgot where the rest of it is I was going with that. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna be real safe. And so again, when you have 2 people, that's easy to do, But if I have 3 or 4 people, like, kind of hard here. Yeah, well, really, you kind of almost ignore somebody because you pick out the one. You're like, okay, I bet he knows what he's doing. But like this,
He's probably fine.
The 14-year-old they brought with them, like, cool, this is not Call of Duty. I'm standing right behind you the whole night.
I've never shot a gun until I went out with you.
What?
I said, I didn't tell you that this is the first time I've ever shot a gun.
Yeah, I've had that. And sometimes that's been great. Other times it's been like, well, like I get it. That's not your thing. You're like, well, I know I hit it. Well, we replayed the footage. We're out here having fun. You having fun? Yeah, we're having fun. Okay, cool.
What caliber?
Yeah, let's do it.
What caliber do you use?
So, the great caliber thing.
Do you provide the guns, or bring your own? Or?
When I have everything. If you want to bring your own setup, that sounds great. If it does not meet my criteria, I'm going to say no.
Okay, I got you.
And part of it, and my criteria isn't so much on caliber. My criteria is really, do you have something you can see with out here? And also, do you have a silencer on that thing? Because if you're like, I've got my Leupold sitting on top of it. Well, we all run thermals, and you're not going to see anything without Leupold. And if you don't have a silencer on the end, like we all hear each other, and we want to keep that.
We want to keep hearing that.
And so
That's cartoon fishing.
right, so when I say I have 4 complete rifle setups, that is a semi-automatic rifle that is chambered in an appropriate caliber, with a silencer, with a thermal scope sighted in for it, sitting on top of it. And I maintain 4 of those all the time. I always have 4 ready to go. The whole caliber debate, so the Texas NRI, Natural Resource Institute, recommends between 25 to 30 caliber, which, again, they immediately after that, they admit that the #1 thing that is more important than the caliber size is going to be shot placement.
Yes.
Because you can get a 257 Roberts Roberts Weatherby Ultra Magnum, which is basically a 375 H&H. And it's like, great, it's 25 caliber, so sure, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's traveling 5,200 feet per second.
Yep, it's 25 caliber though. Personally, I like stuff 24 caliber and up, like so 6mm or 243 and up. Once you go to a 223, like I don't have a problem with that. But my experience with people with 223, with one major exception, sorry, yes, Homer, you, with one major exception, is going to be that we get way less recoveries. And when I text a landowner and say, we killed 8 pigs in your front pasture, and I send him a picture of 2, he kind of thinks I'm a little full of shit. But if I tell him we killed 8, and I send him a picture of 6, and just tell him the other 2 ran off, he's like, well, that kind of makes sense. You know, things are tough. So, to me, recoveries do matter. Taking the pictures afterward is more people have more fun if they can take pictures with more pigs. And then again, I send those pictures to the landowners, and the landowners see the value that I'm bringing to them giving me access onto their property. And then also, like, when one landowner tells the other landowner, oh, and look at the pictures, like, yeah, it's all good. Like, I want recoveries.
Then you get another ranch, right?
Yeah, I mean, so we've had that happen, lots of times. That's the best way, is whenever I get a random text or a phone call. Hey, I hear you do this. Like, yeah. Yes, sir.
How far will pigs move? Like,
Ooh.
I live out in Spatana, and I'll see them maybe once a year.
Okay.
And other landowners I talk to, they said they'll move in and they'll move out, and we don't see them for another year.
So
How far will they travel?
So all research on pig movement shows that their distance of travel is dictated purely by their environment. Whether that's going to be they have food, water, and pressure are going to be the 3 things that drive them. It's not really like a deer that has a home area that even if you scare it, you bump it, you give it some pressure, actually that thing will probably be back somewhere. We're not, it only ran away into its another spot of its home area. It's not like that. Pigs will travel. They will travel for food. They will travel for water, and they will travel to get less pressure on them. So there's not a solid number. Because the places where you see where you do see research that says, oh yeah, like they kind of stayed in this this 50-acre area. It's like, well, yeah, that's because they had everything they wanted there. Like they had everything they wanted.
Water, food.
Yeah. So like, why would they leave? Of course they're going to stay there. But then once you eliminate one of those, then they go home. So I can't give you a straight answer because that's the nature of the beast.
Nice.
And close.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
How does the drone help with recovery?
Oh, great. And so the drone helps with recovery in a few different areas. One, we've had them before where it's in the trees and nobody is seeing this because there's all this yo pond, but I can actually see down in there and I can guide somebody. I can just call somebody and be like, hey, yep, keep going, go. No, veer off to the right, and I can just walk them right in. And so then we can pull them out and get pictures with it. It's the place I really love it is in your coastal fields, or also like now since we're doing so much more corn property, in basically so in your ag properties where if I want to get that animal out of there, so that way either the buzzards don't like knock down this huge swath of their crop, or they don't find it with a cutter later. And then it destroys their cutter, destroys their combine, whatever it is. Like, cool, we want to get these out of here. And, yeah, we get that good, solid, hard lung hit, but it's going to run off however far it goes and dies. Rather than following a blood trail, if you can send Thud up in the air. My daughter named this Thud because she loves acronyms, so it's Thermal Hunting Utility Drone. But also, I've crashed it twice, so Thud fits. Yeah. But if we can send Thud up in the air and find it for us, man, you just saved us a whole bunch of time. Yeah.
And then it's just going out there on the golf cart?
It depends. So obviously then we come up with the game plan. Because is there a creek between us here and there? Is it all muddy between here and there? Is it like actually on the road? Because yes, we are. But yeah, now we know exactly where it is, and we just come up with that game plan and go recover it from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You don't recover in my place.
That if it's underneath one of your feeders, we move them. Yeah.
I know, I'm just messing.
Yeah, that's fine. More questions. I love this.
So, once I finally stop being poor and it goes suppressor burn on March 12th,
Sure.
running 77 grain, Hollow Point Boat Tail,
Sure.
with PBS 30 on it. So I
Yep.
can see through the night and use my day scope, it's already zeroed and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is that acceptable for
Yeah.
one-on-one on the strip?
That's really close to what Homer does.
Great.
I'll just build you a 300 blackout over and swap it over.
I got one of those. Not espresso though.
So on your caliber question, the 4 rifles that I have ready to go at all times, 3 of them are chambered at 7.62 by 39, which to me, like 300 blackout is basically the same thing, but like way cheaper. And we're using a higher volume of ammo, so saving some money kind of matters.
That's right.
And then the other one is the 308. And they're all AR style. When I'm talking to people about how much I love doing this, I'll tell them I don't own a boat, I don't own a guitar, I don't don't watch the TV, blah blah blah. I know I have one friend who I swear every 3 years switches hobbies, and
He's broke too, right?
man, like if you would just stick to but he hasn't sold any of those hobbies.
That's why he's broke.
And yeah, he wonders why he can't afford nice things. I'm like, man, just gotta pick one, and like sell all the rest of that junk. But I've thought before, like, man, like I know I'm like a decade into this. Is that something that I am at risk of? And I'm a human, so maybe I am. However, at the same time, like, cool, this is the tool that I get to use to connect with people that I care about. Which is, again, like I said, when I growing up, hunting was the thing where I connected closest with my father, that my other brothers didn't get to do as much as I did with him. And so it's like, yep, like that's way deep inside of me. And so using this as a tool for connecting with other guys, like, I really don't think I'm ever going to get tired of that. I've had invitations from people to help them with that. Like, so, hey, you got that fancy drone, right? Yeah. Like, hey, so I'm in this. Or first off, are you in the Wise County Hog Contest? Okay, cool. I need some help. All right.
I think one of the biggest things too, and one of the reasons I started in the mid-'80s with the hogs, there is no season and there is no limit.
So one of my sayings is, it's always hog season. It does not, like, just when do you, people ask me, when do you go? I'm like, it's always hog season. We go right now. You want to go right now? Go right now. Like, I'm ready. Right now. Like, I don't care what boots I'm wearing. Let's go.
One every day.
Yeah, and it don't matter what, so kind of on the deer camp thing, we all love deer camp, right? This is actually part of it I didn't even get to, but this is fine. We all love like deer camp. That's my favorite part of deer season, and I'm so looking forward to deer camp again next year. Well, it's always hog season. We can recreate this all the time. It doesn't matter, don't matter what month it is, doesn't matter what time it is, we can always go do this. I love it.
Kind of all of a sudden you talk about being, when summer gets really miserable, well, the hogs are all at the water, it makes it easy.
Yeah, so he was asking me about, like, well, is it just too hot right now, or is it starting to get too hot? Like, well, the great thing is hogs need water, and so as you know that their increased demand for that is a real thing. We hunt more places that hold water right now. There's this one 1,100 acre place I love to go hunt at, and we just know that when it's really wet, you don't need to go all the way down to the river because there's plenty of hogs up top. But then whenever it is really dry, they're all down by the river, right? That's where they are. And so we kind of spend more time further deep off in there. So I mean, they're predictable to an extent because they have needs just like any other animal does.
Did you tell them about how pigs don't sweat?
Oh no. So that part of the reason that they need water so much is because just like a dog, they do not sweat. They have to externally cool themselves, and so that's going to be through water or wallows, which again is basically just water. So that's part of their anatomy of why they demand so much water.
So they don't pant either. They literally just wallow or get in the
You
water.
will find, but not like a dog with that big old tongue sticking out with slobber. I mean, usually if you find slobber on them like that, they're trying to scent mark.
Yeah.
But they, they don't slobber like a dog does to pant and try to cool off. They have to find water to cool off.
Yeah, they like to root and make a waller, cut down to the clay and layer themselves in the clay.
Guys, what other questions can I help out with?
Do any of your seniors have laser retrainers on? Or do you?
So- This one has a laser rangefinder. This, which is a scanner. This one is a scope, which has a laser rangefinder on it. This has a laser rangefinder. This one you can plug their laser rangefinder into it.
Neat.
I never use that feature because I know that this is either a kill or no kill situation. And it's like we can either do that from here or not really. And I get it, like the additional information can be helpful. And I'm trying to I want to not sound cocky here, but like I kind of been doing this long enough to know that even if you told me a number of a distance, like, yeah, but do you actually think you can shoot that from here? Like, and maybe this is all, maybe this is all perfect setup, and we just showed up, and we're actually in the really good clamp style tripods, or and it's one of us, or like this is a brand new kid who's never done this before, and and he's just amazed that you can buy a superpower and put it in front of your face, and and that kid probably can't make that from here. Let's continue to get closer up.
So is there an ideal, you try to get within 100 yards or less, or?
My favorite is about 50 yards. Yeah, that's my favorite. And so and part of the reason is, well, that first shot's way easier. And then also, well, and then once they take off running, then all of your running shots start off way closer. Versus like I have one friend that's got that his scope starts off at way higher base magnification. And so he wants to be further back because if he gets real close, well, that all takes out most of the screening.
Yeah.
And so he has very little field of view, which I mean, like this one's a high base mag. Anyways, that one's pretty high. But either way, I still like to get close, so that way that first shot you can really feel good about yourself. And then also your running shots after that are easier to make because you don't have to judge as much distance to lead with. I think it's funny, I realize that every time I talk about the actual shooting of it, like, I didn't realize I do that.
The hogs are just like sin. The more they get bigger and uglier and uglier and uglier. So, and obviously, I know a little bit about Daniel. Daniel's done some ministry and everything too, so I know he's great with the Lord. But and part of that, we're here tonight to talk about hogging and everything, but we need to talk a little bit about sin and about life and everything. So, but man, if you can have the opportunity to go out with a buddy and go do some things, and this, Neil's just right. It's about connecting, and we need to do more of that and everything. So Daniel, great message. How many of y'all are doing what y'all really passionate about? I'm probably not, but it's neat that you found that, and neat that you can do that. And actually, you can do all the good, you communicate, you connect with guys, and you have fun doing it, kill some hogs, make our steak better. Cool.
The only person who's ever been upset about this is PETA. That's okay.
Good.
Yeah, so we didn't even talk about this. They have done horribly on the health of populations on small, small amphibians, small reptiles, and then also ground nesting birds. If you want to have a healthy turkey population, you need to kill everything that eats ground nesting eggs. So that's going to be your possums, coons, as many snakes as you can, coyotes, and especially hogs. So if you want a really good healthy turkey population, part of the management to make that happen is getting rid of as many hogs as possible. They're rats in your house. That's what pigs are on your property. Rats in your house are pigs on your property.
They're nutritious.
All right, any more questions? Daniel, thank you.
You're very